What if Godzilla visited Skull Island? Godzilla vs. Kong theory. With the next big kaiju battle set to take place very soon in the coming days, you ever wondered what if Godzilla decided to go on a stroll to check out Skull Island? Initially, we'd all expect the Alpha Kong to take matters into his hands. But then the Alpha doesn't necessarily need to do all the work. He could even send an army of his minions to try and take care of the matters first. So, with that in mind, welcome back to Factaholic. And this is your host, Scott Leffler, taking you on an island exploration trip through the eyes of the Big G. It's a fine, bright, sunny day. Godzilla gets bored of swimming around underwater and decides to come out of the sea and explore Skull Island. What are the things that could happen? So far, he's just landed on the beach, and the monsters in the island are aware of his presence already. A powerful titan of unknown origin is what they sense, so immediately the natural defenses stimuli of these monsters kick in. First up, the threat from above come flying in to greet Papa Goji. A swarm of leafwings and a group of psycho vultures start attacking the Big G. Small but potent, leafwings are so lethal that they can easily sever human limbs. As for these psycho vultures, they can fire electric beams from their mouths, which in a human's case would cause second-degree burns and even death. But then the Big G is no human, but rather a king of monsters, a literal god of sorts. So these things could hardly cause anything as much as a scratch on Godzilla, and the Big G wouldn't even notice. So the first welcome party fails miserably to deliver. But what's next? Big G proceeds to leave the beach and enter into the huge, beautiful forests of Skull Island. But the forests themselves aren't that welcoming. Godzilla enters a vegetation filled with vine stranglers, which are a group of predatory insect monsters with characteristics similar to insectivorous plants. The only catch here is that these are massive creatures growing to sizes of about 9 to 12 feet. But even these camouflage predators don't seem to bother Papa Goji, who stomps on them as though he were walking on freshly cut grass. In that instance, the more intelligent monsters in the island understood that it was going to take more than just a few minor creatures to give a proper welcome to the King of Monsters. We're talking about an almost 100,000-ton colossal titan, after all. So, headed by the mystical Holy Tigers, a combined team of monsters including Mother Longlegs, Spore Mantises, Death Jackals, and Giant Wasps, confront the Big G with all their own unique weapons to welcome the ancient Alpha. Godzilla, being Godzilla, readily greets the hostile party by frying each and every monster to a crisp with a small atomic breath, lasting roughly 3 seconds. Just enough to up the point where they're delicate and juicy. But our Alpha decides to leave the starter dish for the other hungry monsters in the island, including the wasps, who the Big G didn't notice at first because they're simply so tiny in front of him. The king of the monsters then moves ahead with the exploration and arrives near a river, where another, seemingly formidable welcome party awaits him. This party includes most of the aquatic and semi-aquatic monsters of the island, headed for the fearsome duo of Mire Squid and Siren Jaw, along with the other fellow monsters such as the Magma Turtle, Skur Buffaloes, and Swamp Locusts. Seeing such delicious monsters on the platter, Godzilla is reminded of the chicken noodle soups of Japan. The only difference here was that instead of the noodles, it was the Mire Squids, and for the chicken part, there was the rich Skur Buffalo meat, along with the other monster delicacies, with the river serving as the soup itself. The welcome party trying to stop the towering 393-foot monster in vain, and only ends up becoming main course for the Big G. Skull Island seems to be treating the Big G quite well so far. The Big G then proceeds ahead and arrives on a barren dry patch with skeletons of humans and monsters lying all over the area. Seems like a perfect place to take a breather and rest for him, although he hears some foul crying devils in the distance, charging towards him at a high pace. After a while, these devils start becoming visible, and they're actually a group of skull crawlers, along with the big one, all ready to engage the beast and take him down. So what's the Big G thinking? Well, he's thinking that it might be a good exercise for him to help digest the wholesome meal he had a while back. And it did turn out to be just that. These skull crawlers started attacking Godzilla in unison, who found these beasts to be tougher than anticipated, especially the big one. In his delight for the good sport, Big G starts stomping and romping the fairly huge monsters. He then engages with the big one with his tail, and as soon as he felt that, his stomach was starting to feel better. Godzilla unleashes a massive atomic breath that leaves all the skull crawlers to ashes, including the big one. So, what's more to offer? Skull Island was starting to get boring, and he couldn't sense the Alpha anywhere on the island either. Godzilla wants to convey his greetings to the fellow Alpha, but where did Kong go? Godzilla searches for him and arrives at a giant opening on the ground. Seems like Kong went for some business to the hollow Earth. Godzilla faintly senses his presence along with other powerful titans. So even he decides to jump in and explore this unknown world. Unknown to us, at least. And that's about as much as we know. The happenings from here on after are beyond Skull Island, so maybe we'll just have to wait for another time, or maybe until the ultimate showdown finally takes place. There you have it. Those were the adventures of Godzilla and Skull Island, more or less. Honestly, things could be pretty different in reality, but then again, it's pretty fun to let our imaginations run too, right?